So today I'm going to be repacking my stuffing box. Stuffing box keeps the water out from the drive shaft. And what it's comprised of is a locking nut, which is the very narrow nut in the middle there. And on the right hand side, the big nut is your gland nut or your packing nut. And that's where the flax material goes into. There's a few different types of compounds that can go in there. There's regular flax, which is by most considered a little outdated. Then there's Gore-Tex infused with graphite, which seems to be, kind of in the middle ground. And then you have clays that are supposedly dripless, but they don't look like a really good option, especially when it comes time to clean this out. I chose the middle ground. I chose the graphite impregnated Gore-Tex. It's called GTU. It's made by Western Pacific. You can pick it up from any marine store. The next thing you have to consider is what size flax you need. For this one, I have a 1-inch shaft, and about, I think the opening is like 6/16. So if you do the math, it comes out to about 3/16. But they make it in 5/16, a quarter, 3/16, and for bigger applications on, boats with like 12-inch shafts, much larger. I'm going to try 3/16 today. A lot of people recommend that if you have a 3/16 drive shaft, or a 1-inch drive shaft, to go ahead and pick up 3/16 and a quarter, depending on which one you end up needing, and you could just return the extra. I just picked up 3/16. I've read a lot about Catalina 27s, and most people say that the quarter fits, but it's so tight that it's going to put heat into the bearing, and it's going to lock up all the water, so that you're going to end up ruining your drive shaft over time. And these nuts should be the temperature of the water on the outside, and when you're in the marina or you're in the water without the engine running, you should get anywhere from 1 to 5 drips per minute, depending on your preference. But when you turn over the motor and the drive shaft's going, it should be 1 drip every 5 seconds, every 3 seconds or so. Finding that sweet spot is it's not that difficult. You just you don't want to over tighten too quick. Once I repack this thing, I'm going to finger tighten it, and then I'm going to lock the nuts together. The locking nut comes up against the packing nut, and it prevents the nuts from turning when the drive shaft's going. So here's the trick, is that once you get these things undone, and sometimes it can be a struggle. It took me 7 hours to actually get these things to move, these 2 nuts. And eventually what it ended up being is I just took a ball-peen hammer and I just smacked against the flats on each one of these, and they immediately started moving. So all of the work I'd put in was, if I had done that to begin with, it would have been a much easier job. Just, be careful about how hard you hit it. That's the ocean over there. I'm doing this in the water, which isn't that bad. You're going to see how much water comes out. It's nothing to be concerned about. You're not going to flood your boat. It would take hours, and no bilge pump to even fill your bilge. So, well, I can't say that. I'd say that you'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these nuts apart, and then I'll show you how much water actually comes out when you do this in the water, at least for Catalina 27s anyway. And then we're going to try and get the old flax material out. And that can be a little bit of a trick. People recommend using dental picks or, drywall screws even to screw. You would take the drywall screw and screw in between all 3 or 4 layers of flax and just pull it out in one big go. I don't have a drywall screw. I don't have a pick. I've got toothpicks, and I'll give it a shot that way, and we'll see what happens. So the packing nut is backed off, and as you can see, it's really just not that much water. Nothing a good bilge pump won't keep up with. I have a Roll 500 automatic, and you know, it kicks on every 2 minutes, and this just isn't enough water to really make it that much of a struggle for the bilge pump to keep up. So even if this takes a couple of hours, it's not a big deal. So this is a product I picked up. This is Western Pacific Trading. It's kind of a knockoff of the actual Gore, the Gore packing, but it's sold by West Marine and it's sold by distributors. Now, this is 2 feet worth of packing material, which is plenty. With a 1-inch shaft, you're looking at getting, you know, 3 or 4 wraps around a 1 diameter shaft. So you're looking at about a foot of material you're going to need to make the 3 or 4 rings. This is 2 feet. At my local marine store, it's $7.95. At West Marine, it's $19.95. So you might be advisable to pick this up on Amazon, or if you have a really good marine store that offers decent pricing, to pick it up from them. And at the same time, you know, you can buy the 3/16 and the quarter and not even come close to the price that West Marine's selling for one of them. So what I'm going to do is take this out here. So it comes in a little ring, just like that. And the idea here is that, let's see if I can get this undone. There's a little metal pin holding it in place. See if I can get that out. I just have to pull on it. Yeah. There we go. It's got a little nail on the end there. Just pull that out. And basically what you want to do in order to get the right size rings is you want to go back to your drive shaft or another shaft of comparable size, and you're going to wrap it around it really tight, like this, 3 or 4 times depending on how many rings you're going to need. And what you'll do is you have you'll take a razor blades, and once it's on the shaft and you have all the rings really snug and tight, you're going to take your razor blade, and there's 2 ways I've found of doing this. It's all your preference. Is well, 3 really. You could cut it straight on, and you want to use a sharp razor blade for this so there's not very much fraying. This stuff tends to fray a little more than the official Gore stuff, but you'll want to cut straight. Then your other option is you could cut on a 45-degree bias. Now this isn't going to give you the ring sizes that you need, but it'll be close, and you can trim and make them fit staggered pretty well. There's another way that you could hold it at a 45-degree angle going straight in like that, but that's not advisable either for one reason or another. What I'm going to end up doing is cutting it on a 45-degree like this once I have it wrapped around the shaft, and then I'll just adjust the rings as need be. So let me get down there and wrap this around and cut it. So I've gone ahead and cut them around the shaft on a 45-degree angle, and you're left with 4 rings, and I think I'm only going to need 3, but maybe just in case. And they come back together, and let's see here. You can see that they overlap. And what you want to do is that when you stack these things inside of the boxes, you're going to want to stagger the seams 120 degrees if you're doing 3. So you're going to have you know, another opening there, and then you want to put the 3rd opening over here, and that makes it difficult for the water to actually just breeze through if you lined up all the joints on one run. So what you're left with is these will obviously be closed, but you know, staggered joints evenly, you know, 120 degrees a piece. once you start putting your stuffing box in. Now, I was able to get all the material out, but it was so worn down, it was just gunk. It didn't come out as a solid ring. So it's probably been a while since the stuffing box was touched. And by a while, I'm thinking, you know, maybe 7 or 8 years, if not longer than that. I don't think the previous owner was too good about keeping up on the, you know, routine maintenance. Or, I mean, there's always been a constant leak in this boat, not just drips. It's something I've been meaning to get a long time to. It's just accessibility. Now that the exhaust is out, as good as time as any to actually get in there and start working on this. But what I'm aiming for is I'm not going to have a totally dry system. I'm probably going to have anywhere from 2 to 3 drips per minute starting off, and then I can adjust from there. But you don't want to crank down on this right away. You want to you know, get it to a comfortable spot, and you really want to let the motor run for, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours before you make another adjustment, or at least have the drive shaft going at like a regular good pace. And once the drive shaft's turning, what you want to do is you can go ahead and cut your motor, and you kind of want to get it down to, you know, 1 or 3 drops per minute while your drive shaft is moving. Once you're there, you'll probably have a drip per minute when the motor's not running. So that's kind of what you should be aiming for. Now, to put these things in the stuffing box, it's going to be a little difficult for me. I can't really show it in the video because it's, you know, I can only fit one hand down in the bilge or down in the engine compartment. These openings that someone cut, they're great. You know, I can access, you know, my dipstick, my water pump, distributor cap. It's all easy to go ahead and access, but getting 2 arms down there, damn near impossible. So I'll go ahead and I'll open up this stuffing box again, put the rings in there, see if I can get it firmly seated, and then we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so I got all 3 in there, and it was relatively easy. You know, even with one hand, you can just start. You want to tighten this slowly. It's that you want to get it down to about anywhere from 1 drop every 12 seconds to you know, 3 drops per minute, or 1 every 20 seconds. And that's totally up to you. The thing is, though, is that once you pack this stuff down, it's not really advisable to actually go ahead and, you know, back up again. So, like, as you're going through the lifespan of this flex, you only want this packing nut to move towards the rear of the boat. You don't want to back it off. You can little by little, like if it's running too dry and you're not getting any leaks while you're hauling ass down the ICW, you can certainly back it up there. But once this stuff is compressed, it doesn't like to uncompress. So when you're first locking this thing into place for the first time, do your research and figure out whether you want it to be 1 time a minute, 3 times per minute, 5 times per minute, and do whatever makes you feel comfortable. I had to do my own research. I'm aiming for about 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten these together. I'm going to move that locking nut right here on the left, and I'm going to slide it all the way until it's touching the end of the packing nut. And then I'm going to get 2 wrenches, and I'm going to kind of squeeze these together, just so that as the drive shaft's turning, it doesn't undo any of these screws. The locking nut will hold the packing nut in place. And what I'll do is, after about 3 hours on the drive shaft turning, I'll come back down and I'll kind of reassess. I'll see what it's doing when it's going down the ICW. Then I'll see what it's doing in my slow, and I'll make adjustments from there. But overall, this was outside of spending those 7 hours knocking these nuts apart, this wasn't a difficult process. It was a tedious one. And like I said, I can only reach one hand down here, so just imagine how it went for me. If you have a more accessible stuffing box, I wouldn't consider this a very difficult task. It's just one you need to become familiar with by doing your research. Other advice I could give you, that's really about it. This is surprisingly easy. It doesn't take a mechanic to do this. It's certainly not worth paying someone $300 to do it for you. And, you know, if you plan on doing long trips, if you're going to go out to the Bahamas, if you're going to do some offshore sailing, this is something that you want to be familiar with anyway. You know, this flux is going to be in your emergency kit along with all of your replacement parts. You might as well know how to put it on now. I would certainly tell you that this isn't a job that the beginner can't do. You saw how much water was coming into the boat, even though this is in the water. It just wasn't that bad. You know, maybe a gallon every 5 minutes. It wasn't a significant leak gushing through. I can't say that's the same for all drive shafts, but you know, for this little bronze wonder on the Atomic 4 and the Catalina 27, nothing to worry about. I certainly, my boat wasn't going to sink anytime soon. And if I had a 5-gallon bucket, it would have never sank. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. Do your research. Look at other people's stuff. This is definitely a project you can do. Just make sure you have the right size flax on hand. If you're not sure, buy the 2 different types. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get to them. I'd like to thank the people at Moyer Marine and their forums for hooking me up with all of these great ideas. They've been a godsend. Any question I've asked has been answered with 5 different answers so that I could kind of see what options were available to me. But they're really great people. So check them out. It's Moyer, MOYER, marine.com. And it's an Atomic 4 company that sells parts and does overhauls, but they have a great forum section that's good for any boater. You ask a question there and you'll get 5 responses in the first hour. So I highly advise that if you have questions about this job, go over there and give them a shout out. All right, bye.